If you're a tax accountant, you can close your ears for a second, but my name's Ben. I'm part of the preaching team, and I empathize with Tony because, I haven't done my I've done my taxes, but the accountant didn't do my taxes yet, and he filed an extension. And my whole goal this year was to get it done on time, and I sent it a week ago. Like, you needed it 3 months? I know I had 3 months, and I ignored it. But anyways, I'm not mad at him. I feel like I made my goal, but didn't make my goal. So that's just where I'm at. But it is April. I'm excited to be here. We're kicking off a new series called They Hurt Me. It's really a simple phrase, but it carries a ton of weight. They hurt me. You hurt me. For some of us, the phrase, they hurt me, has a name. There's a person you think of. For others, it's a moment you wish with every fiber of your being that you could forget. And for some, it's not even in the past. You see, some of the deepest wounds in our life don't come from strangers. They can't come from people who are supposed to love you, protect you, be there for you. A parent, a spouse, a friend. Words that were said or things that were done that stick with you, they hurt me. That's what the series is about. And the reality is to be human is to be wounded. If you're human, you'll have wounds. There'll be pain. There'll be trial. There'll be hardship. But we don't have to just experience wounds, or I should say we don't just experience them. What ends up happening is the more we get wounded, we end up carrying more and more of that. We carry them into our relationships, into how we trust people, into how we see people, even into how we see and understand God. And over time, if we're not careful, those wounds, they don't just hurt us. We think it's just hurting us, but at the end of the day, they shape us. They make us guarded. They make our heart or our soul hardened. Sometimes it even causes us to be bitter. So at the end of the day, the real question is, how do we move forward when the pain came from somebody who should have known better? And what I mean by that is my 4-year-old, he hurts me very, very often. I'm not convinced he should know better. When he smacks me in the face, I know he knows better, right? And so there are times, but we're shaped by these wounds and pains from people who ultimately should know better, which is why we're spending the next several weeks going to stay laser focused on the broad concept of forgiveness. I think it's important for me to say up front that this is not about pretending it didn't hurt. This isn't about saying it was okay, the situation, the words, the experience. This is about something better. It's actually about freedom. Most of us live most of our life trying to obtain some level of freedom, whether it's financial freedom, career freedom, relational freedom, spiritual freedom. But freedom actually lies in its root at forgiveness. Forgiveness is the conscious decision to let go of resentment, anger, or the desire for revenge towards someone who has hurt you, whether they deserve it or not. Conscious decision to let go of that resentment, whether they deserve it or not. Ephesians chapter 4, starting in verse 31, says, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice." And so the word get rid of is strong language. It's not passive. It's not wait until you feel better about a particular situation. It's actually active. It's intentional. Paul's saying there are things in your life that don't belong there anymore, so therefore we should get rid of them, and it's time to remove them. Then he lists some of them. Bitterness, that slow, simmering resentment. Anybody have, no, I'm just kidding, you don't have to raise your hand. Anger, that thing that keeps rising back. Maybe it's subtle anger, maybe it's the boiling inside, but you think nobody is experiencing you being short, or maybe it's rage anger. Slander. See, slander, it begins to start to leak into how we talk about other people. We're just joking. Or for me, I'm just being sarcastic. I don't really have a problem with them, but where's the truth in that so-called sarcasm? Whether you like it or not, unforgiveness doesn't stay contained. Does anybody else obsess over their lawn? Anybody? Okay, so just me. All right, fine, it's confessional. I almost mowed this last week because I am so excited to start mowing, and I decided I shouldn't, so I just fertilized and did some things. But you see, these weeds grow crazy, and it doesn't matter what I do, they still show up. And then when I go to a golf course, that's nice, I don't see those weeds. So I still have to do better on my lawn and figure out how to accomplish the pinnacle. I mean, it is Masters weekend. If you are into golf, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you could care less. It's boring. Take a nap. Unforgiveness doesn't stay contained. They're weeds that they spread. They go in all areas of your life, and it becomes ridiculously hard to control because what happens is it leaks into the relationships. Again, you don't consciously think it's leaking into the relationships, but you don't realize it actually is leaking into relationships. It changes how you see people. It sometimes, and more often than not, even changes who you become. Now, the New Testament word for forgiveness literally means to release or to let go, which is why the passage is so interesting, because he says to let go of. He's saying you need to forgive so you can let go of these things. You can send them away so you're able to release it. And here's what happens. I don't know if you can see, but there's some rocks. And what happens is if we choose not to forgive, we're going to carry instead of release, right? So you have that one person who said what they did to you, and they made fun of you, or they belittled you, or whatever. And so it's just, now you're going to carry it. Now it's on you. You can't get rid of. The past relationship, the marriage that didn't work out, the kids that kind of walked away from your love and you don't understand why. And so you just hold on to it like, I wish they would come back. They never apologized. I mean, I still have physical pain from what they did. And you just end up putting all of these rocks into your backpack, so to speak, all of the weight of unforgiveness, and then you walk around your whole life carrying this type of pain, right? So you live your life with a weight that's uncomfortable. And you just keep living every day. You're like, oh, it doesn't really work out very well. It's uncomfortable, but it becomes heavy. And what happens is the longer you carry carry weight, the heavier that weight becomes. And here's the crazy part. We think we're holding on for it to give us control. If I release them from that pain, if I forgive them, even though they've never apologized to me, then I am giving them control. But frankly, it's the opposite. You think you're letting them off the hook, but in reality, it's holding you. It's weighing you down. There is a major misconception in forgiveness. And that's forgiveness at any point equals forgetting. I'm not going to forget ever in my life the way people have hurt me. But I can still forgive them even though I will never forget it. And so it's not about never remembering the pain. It's about not letting that pain weigh you down and hold you down. You begin replaying it. You carry it. You feel it again and again. Unforgiveness feels powerful, but what it actually is exhausting. Because I have a weight that I'm carrying, and it just keeps getting heavier and heavier, and I get more comfortable with it and more comfortable with it, but it becomes harder and harder. And some of us are tired. We don't even realize why we're so tired. But it's because we're carrying this weight. Ephesians 4, verse 32, the next verse says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ God forgave you." That phrase, just as Christ forgave you. It's key. It's subtle. But it's the foundation of forgiveness. We don't forgive by trying harder. I need to try harder to forgive. I need to keep doing it. We forgive by remembering what we received. See, the word Paul uses for forgiving is connected to the word grace. It means giving something good to somebody who doesn't deserve it. It's not about somebody deserving the forgiveness you're giving to them. It's about giving them the same grace that God forgave you, that God gave to you. Well, I don't need as much grace as what they did to me. It's not about how much grace. It's simply about you need grace. God gives you grace, and it's in that grace you can live in the freedom and release the weight of unforgiveness. It's canceling a debt. Not because it's small, but because you choose to release it. And there's a lot of things in our life that we're choosing not to release because we don't want to let them off the hook. Because God's already released it. God's already forgiven the person who you're not forgiving. You're just carrying the weight of unforgiveness. Because Christ has already forgiven you. Jesus tells a story that makes it really clear in Matthew chapter 8. There's a servant who owes his king an impossible amount of money. And when I say a lot of money, in the billions of dollars in today's term. No way to pay it back. He begs for mercy, and the king does something shocking no one would expect. He cancels the entire debt. It's gone. It's free. But then that same servant walks out, just has billions of dollars forgiven, and finds someone who owes him a small amount of money and says, Venmo me, or whatever, like, pay me. And he grabs him, pay me back, no mercy, no patience. And when the king hears about it, he's furious. Because the point is frankly, it's obvious. You were forgiven a debt you could never repay. But at the same time, you won't release someone over something small in comparison. Don't misunderstand this, though. I'm not trying to say your pain is small. Some of you have been deeply hurt. Some of you carry a lot of weight. What this is saying is God's grace is bigger than all of it. Because on the cross, Jesus didn't wait for an apology. On the cross, which we celebrated last week, Easter, when he rose from the dead, and Good Friday at the cross, he literally said, Father, forgive them. And when did he say that? He said that while he was being hung on the cross, in the middle of the pain, not after the pain, not when he rose from the dead. He said it in the midst of the situation and the pain. Father, forgive them. That's what forgiveness looks like. It's a release. God has released you, so why are we voluntarily carrying so much weight? When we truly grasp the freedom in forgiveness, it changes how we hold on to things. Because what's happening is we step into freedom. So what does it actually look like to step into freedom? Well, let's make it simple. Forgiveness is a decision. Not somebody else's, your decision. Forgiveness is a decision. It's not a feeling. In the middle of my pain, the last thing I want to do is forgive you. The first thing I want to do is to retaliate and to get equal. But it's in the middle of that pain, when I don't feel like it, that I need to make the decision to forgive. Feelings may come later, but forgiveness will always start with a choice. It's choosing to release the debt. The king frees the servant, releases the servant's debt, but the servant doesn't go out and make the choice to release his debtor. So he's holding that. If he would have left the king when he said your massive debt was free and he had made the decision to forgive, imagine how much happier he would have been when he left. He would have been able to celebrate. He would have had time to embrace the freedom, the grace that this king had given in forgiving his debt. But instead, he walks out and he's weighed down by his lack of forgiveness. So therefore, he does what he's always done. And he goes and he collects his debt. And he totally misses the point. It's choosing to release the debt. It doesn't mean it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean it didn't matter or doesn't matter. Trust is instantly restored. When you forgive someone, it doesn't mean that trust is instantly restored. Matter of fact, there are situations where I would suggest that we forgive because the weight in which it has on our life is so heavy that I wouldn't even suggest you speak to the person. Because in order to forgive someone doesn't mean you have to call them up on the phone. It's you. Your unforgiveness isn't their problem. It's you don't have to, hey, I just want to let you know I'm sorry. Now, there are certainly situations in relationships where maybe you should apologize. Right? There are times when we hurt our friends or our family and we simply need to say, hey, look, I just want to let you know I'm sorry. Has there ever been a time you've said sorry, but you didn't really forgive them? You just said sorry because you knew that's what the right thing to do was? Oh, I better keep peace. I like to please people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, you're really sorry? But now you're holding a grudge. Choosing to release debt means I'm not going to carry this anymore. It's actually the part in the sermon I was looking forward to the most because this bag is very heavy. It's saying like I don't have to carry the weight anymore. I don't have to walk around with this unnecessary weight on my shoulders every single day. There's actually a path forward. Do they deserve it? No. Did they say sorry? Probably not. Are you still hurt? Pretty likely. But forgiveness is not saying they deserve freedom. It's choosing you do. It's choosing you deserve freedom. Why? Because we need to forgive as Christ forgave us. So we receive forgiveness and we're called to release. And for some of you, this isn't even about someone else wronging you. It's actually about you. You keep replaying your own failure. I should have known better. I wish I could go back and do that over again. I can't forgive myself. Let me say this clearly. If Jesus has forgiven you, why are you still holding on to your lack of self-forgiveness? I think it's a lot easier to talk about how people have wronged me and I need to forgive. It's a lot deeper and it's a lot harder when I have to think about how in the world do I forgive myself? How do I let the grace of God purify me, forgive me, so I can release the shame, the guilt, the burden of unforgiveness? You can't receive grace and refuse grace at the same time. So why wouldn't we live a life receiving the grace of Christ for ourselves? And when we begin to forgive ourselves, that burden is gone. And it'll equip us and help us to begin forgiving the people who have wronged us. At some point, forgiveness becomes an act of trust. I'm going to trust in the provision of God. I'm going to trust in the words of God. I'm going to release and allow God to move. If you really think about unforgiveness, I think you would be surprised at the amount of weight you're actually carrying. Whether it's self-forgiveness or whether it's forgiveness from somebody else. And it's possible, it truly is possible to find freedom. You feel it in your relationships. It's in your thoughts, it's in your reactions. It's not even really about pretending it didn't happen. It's about deciding it doesn't get to control you anymore. What maybe you thought was you controlling actually has had the reverse effect, and it's controlling you. And Paul's saying, get rid of. Make the choice to get rid of bitterness and anger and resentment and malice. and begin giving the grace that Christ has given you. Forgive as Christ has forgiven you. Which is why I think it's so important to process for your own self. Have you really allowed yourself to receive the grace of Christ daily? I'm not saying, have you walked in relationship with Christ? I said, have you actively been willing to submit and to surrender and say, God, where do I need your grace today? And said, okay, God, I'm going to allow you to give me that grace. And you saying, I forgive myself. When's the last time you wrote that in a journal or you verbalized that? You know what? I forgive myself for that. I don't remember the context, but I was driving a couple weeks ago. And I remember just in my truck, like, I forgive myself. And it was like liberating. It was mind-blowing. I'm like, wait a minute, I should try that more often. I forgive myself. Then the guy cut me off, and I waved with part of my hand and said, just kidding, I forgive myself. No, I'm just kidding, that didn't happen. But how do you forgive yourself? It's important to forgive yourself so we can forgive others. Forgive each other just as Christ God forgave you. That's our model. That's our power. It's liberating. It's freeing. It's deep. And it's hard. It's a simple truth, but it's deep. And it's not a one-time decision. Some of us, the pain is so deep, it's an everyday. We have to wake up and say, you know what? I forgive them today. And then at 30 minutes later, I forgive my boss again. I'm going to forgive. And it's the repetition over and over and over again. So as the worship team comes back up, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think of the person that you need to forgive. Seriously. Is there a person? Maybe it's a situation. Is it a person from your past? Every time I start studying biblical forgiveness, I'm amazed by how many people I haven't forgiven. I don't even remember them until I start thinking. I'm like, oh, who hurt me? Oh, I start boiling inside. Maybe it's yourself. And so, right where we're at, I don't want you to say their name out loud, but I want you to say, God, I release this. Can we say that together? God, I release this. God, I release this. Heavenly Father, we don't release because they deserve. You haven't released us because we deserve. We release because you have already been set free. And Father, what we release today, I pray by your divine power, you would help us not carry it into tomorrow. God, we release this. Wash us with your forgiveness. Open our hearts to how you have first forgiven us. Father, do what only you can do within us. Heal where we need to find healing. And give us freedom in the depths of our souls where we have been carrying so much weight. Give us this freedom, Father. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.